At this point, I'd like to invite Rick Maxey to lead us through the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the four-way test. Rick is.
Thank you, Mr. President. Oh, sorry.
Hang on. I get to announce you better than that. You're worth more than that. Rick is the Assistant VP of Diversity and Inclusion at Florida Polytech, and he's been a member of this club for about 2.5 years, and he is a Leadership Lakeland Class 32, the okayest class ever graduate. Rick, please lead us in the invocation.
Thank you, sir. Bow our heads. Let us not only value the year before us, but look to this day. For it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all worldly truths and realities of our existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Therefore, fellow Rotarians, look well to this day and thank God. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, my friend. Much appreciated. It's good to have you doing that for us. You do such a great job.
Thank you.
At this point, Trey, did you make it back in time?
I did.
All right. Would you introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians then?
I certainly will. I saw that Doug McCall is with us today, a visiting Rotarian from England. Do we have any other guests or visiting Rotarians?
Trey Don Selvage, I'm hesitant to say that she's still a guest, but Carol Hornsby's with us. She's scheduled for Rotary information, and I think you all saw her at the golf tournament volunteering. So welcome, Carol.
Hi.
And John Louts, my other frequent guest who couldn't make it today. So welcome to both.
Welcome, Carol and John. Thank you, Don. Anyone else? Do we have any other guests or visiting Rotarians? Okay.
All right, Trey, thank you very much. And welcome, everyone. At this point, we'll step through Happy Dollars. Does anybody have any Happy Dollar type announcements they want to make? Please unmute yourself and speak up.
Have a happy dollar. We're having a great foundation event Thursday night. Want to see more than just a few people from Lakeland. You'll have a great time. We have a chef. We'll see celebrity chef. We'll see how to make his dish, and we have a fabulous speaker and awards. You never know when you're getting an award, so show up. See you Thursday. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, District Governor Mark. We certainly appreciate you, and I will see you Thursday night. I'll send you pictures of the water that I boiled for my dinner. That's the extent of my chef skills. Any other Happy Dollars, please unmute yourself.
Hey, President Joel, this is Michelle Ledford.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Some of you may have heard, but I am very happy to say that my son is out of the hospital. He had come home for a visit from college in Nashville, and I just knew there was something we needed to have checked out, so we brought him to urgent care. They sent us directly to the hospital, and he was admitted and was in the hospital for 7 days and had surgery last week. And it had a fungal infection in his nasal cavity that had some possible complications with his brain and an eye and everything. And prayers were answered. Best case scenario, we brought him home Friday night, and he's still with us this week until he goes back up to Nashville this coming weekend. But that was a scary ordeal, but I'm just happy to say that he is on the mend.
That's awesome news, Michelle. Glad to hear that. As you're saying, is he 100% yet?
Almost. So much better. I mean, if you saw him today, you probably wouldn't have any idea what he went through last week. But there's a couple, maybe some things some test results we've got to get back and everything. But he is definitely heading in the right direction.
Good deal. We'll all be praying for the best outcome for Tanner, right?
Yes, Tanner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you. Any other happy dollars? All right. Hearing none, we'll step into announcements. Don, I know that you're with us. Do you want to take the Veterans Day announcement?
Thank you, President Joel. Saturday morning at 10 o'clock at Lakeland's Veterans Memorial Park, we'll have the unveiling of the Desert Storm Monument. And thanks to our own Bill Minozzi and National Memorials, the monument is in place and looks pretty good. So it's going to be pretty much a Rotary celebration since we've combined the annual salute to veterans from the 5 Lakeland Rotary Clubs. So hope you can make it out at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning at Lakeland Veterans Memorial Park. Thank you.
Good deal, Don. Thank you. Thank you for your continued service to our veterans and for your service. Tyler, do you want to talk about the Vista meal boxes?
Yes. This year, like in previous years, the Lakeland Rotary Club is committed to volunteering and delivering Vista boxes to the elderly in our community. Amanda set up a sign-up page on Club Runner. If not, you can shoot me an email if you would like to volunteer to make a delivery. And thanks to everybody who has already done that. We've had already tremendous sign-up and action from everybody in Rotary. So that's very, very appreciative. So the 2 different ways to sign up. You can shoot me an email or sign up via Club Runner. We're going to pick them up on December 1st. And that afternoon, we're going to have a window of time available for everybody to swing by in December. So this is very contactless and safe. And there's a lot of protocols involved to make sure that this can be a safe pickup and delivery process. So please let me know if you would like to sign up to deliver Vista boxes this December.
Thank you. Tyler, I don't think I heard it. Do we have a pickup location yet?
Not yet. Still working through that. I'm trying to get the pickup location to be at the United Methodist Church. If not, we'll do it at our office here in Lakeland. So one of those 2 locations, I will be sure to let everybody know.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for taking this on. We appreciate you. All right. Our next announcement in regards to spring of session, it's our next big event that's coming up. Dr. Melody Ryder.
Hi. Thank you, President Joel. Along with Matt, wanted to announce, as you know, our spring of session has been moved around a little bit just due to COVID and finding the right space with distancing and everything involved. So we've been working feverishly to find a good spot. Downtown seemed to have a lot of barriers to it. So we have chosen Lake Crago. Is that how you say that correctly, hopefully? Lake Crago. It is a beautiful, beautiful location. Yes, it's going to be different the first time ever. So there's an amount of risk to it, but I think it's calculated. And I think that it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful event. The location is superb. But it is a change, so we have to do a lot of marketing for that. So this is my ask to all of you. I need 2 volunteers to be added to our committee. One is somebody who's really, really good at social media, somebody hit that hard for us to get it out there. Our vendors are very, very excited. We have a lot, I don't know if Gladys is on. I think we're at a 70 count. I don't want to missay that. I don't know if Matt's on. But and we're going to be able to space them out and not have to reduce our amount of vendors. So it's happening. I'll probably have another ask for all of you. We're going to probably need the day of volunteers. You don't have to be on the committee, but I might be raising my hand for that as well. For the committee, we're going to need a little bit more support, but it's coming along, and we're very, very excited. It's going to be a beautiful event. So I asked that I need a social media person to ping me, email me, as well as an additional person to do door prizes. I did it last year, so I have everything laid out, and I can delegate that rather smoothly. So 2 people. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mill. So if you got people that have a penchant for social media and then doing the door prizes and things like that, we certainly could use your help. This is going to be a big club-wide event, so come early, come often, and help out as much as you can. So thank you for that. All right, that will take us into the program. Kim Brunson, are you going to be doing the announcement or the introduction?
I am. We're just in the bar having fun, but I'm happy to stop and do an introduction. Sure.
Okay, good deal. So Kim is the Business Relationship Manager with Publix. She's on the Board of Directors as our Program Chair and a 7-year Rotarian. So if you wouldn't mind stepping into the introduction, please.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, President Joel. It's my great pleasure to introduce Arletta Torres, ISO Board President. She served the ISO for 7 years and is a member of the League of American Orchestras. Her awesome board of directors, the brilliant staff and professional musicians of the ISO are excited about the challenges of this very special year and to bring live symphonic music to Central Florida in new and traditional ways. Arletta moved to Lakeland 7 years ago from Manhattan, where she worked in corporate affairs and communications for American Express. Since then, she has created the Promise Run and managed the Women in Philanthropy for the foundation at the Lakeland Regional Health. She is currently Secretary of the Friends of Bonnet Springs Park, a member of the Junior League of Greater Lakeland, and has been a member of the Rotary for 4 years. She's a certified musical theater geek and loves living in Lakeland, where donors never fail to surprise her with a warm heart. In 2015, Amy Wiggins joined the ISO with a 55-year history of educating, entertaining, and inspiring audiences. Knowing that arts and culture opportunities help to stimulate innovation and drive economy, Amy is making high-quality live music accessible to everyone. When she's not attending a concert or supporting a fellow arts organization, Amy enjoys honoring her gluten-free baking skills and rehabilitating orchids from the clearance rack. So with that, please welcome Arletta and Amy. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank Rotary, the programming committee, Heidi and Kim, for inviting the Imperial Orchestra to speak today, as we're really thrilled to be here. And thank you, Beth, for your technical help. With me being a member of this Rotary Club and president of the ISO, I'd like to point out the many crossovers that these two organizations have. There are several Rotarians who are long-term subscribers to the ISO, and I love seeing your faces at performances. Many Rotarians have supported the ISO through donations and sponsorships for decades, so thank you for consistently being there for us. We also have a history of Rotarians who have served and are currently serving on our board of directors. And today, I wish to acknowledge the members of this club who have also been past ISO presidents. That includes Bruce Renfro, Bill Ward, Dr. Tom McLaughlin, and Brock Self, who helped me put together this list. So thank you, Brock. Next week's performance will be dedicated to the memory of Dr. McLaughlin, so I'm honored to be part of such an esteemed Rotary ISO history. I'm wearing both my Rotary and ISO pins today here in honor of all these great folks. And then also, she's not a Rotarian yet, but I do want to make a very loud and public acknowledgement of another ISO leader today, our executive director, Amy Wiggins, who was just introduced. She doesn't know I'm going to do this, so I want to acknowledge her for her extraordinary leadership, her grace, her management skills, and vision. She's the hub that keeps the many spokes of the ISO rolling day to day and keeps us rolling into the future. So I'm very grateful to her. Our Rotary Club has many members that are executive directors as well. And I salute all of you for your efforts and brilliance in keeping Polk County's nonprofits vibrant and strong, not just during a pandemic, but daily. So thank you to all of the hard work that's going on out there. So let's get on to the presentation. Everyone knows the Imperial Symphony Orchestra, right? Most of you have been to a performance at least once in the last 55 years. And if you haven't, I am officially inviting you today. During this presentation, you'll learn of the many ways that you can enjoy the beautiful music that the ISO brings to Central Florida, the importance of music to the human spirit it's part of our DNA. It's always been with us and it always will. This is what has kept the musicians, the staff, and the board focused on our mission, and even more now. Because 2020 has been a year like no other in our history. We've had to adapt to our current situation, and I assure you that we are continued to be dedicated to innovation, education, and inspiring our patrons. So Amy, why don't you take over and elaborate a little bit?
I'd be glad to. Thank you so much for hosting us. This has been a really interesting year, as Arletta said. I do want to offer one caveat. This is the first Zoom presentation that I'm doing, so if I completely flub it up, please forgive me. And also, I'm really excited because we have this fun new toy behind me in this big banner, but I also am working from home with a 16-year-old Springer Spaniel who could wake up at any point in time and stumble into it. So if it falls in the middle, please excuse me, and I'll try to make it back smoothly and gracefully, as Arletta so graciously alluded to. So I thought I would have a little fun today, I guess, with a little bit of the how it started and how it's going memes that have been going around. So obviously 2020 started out in a great way for us. That's our Valentine's Day concert, actually, with our concertmaster, Dr. Nina Kim, and her husband, who's one of our cellists, Valdi Mullah. And we did a great concert, full stage, full audience at the Polk Theater. And as you can see, how it's going, there's 3 folks and video cameras, and everybody's got masks on in September. So it's a little bit different. And just like all of you, we've had to figure out what we're doing to meet our mission. We've had to figure out how to keep our patrons safe, to keep our staff safe, and to keep our musicians safe. We have 48 professional musicians that are engaged in the ISO on a regular basis. And as you can imagine, there's a big difference in the risk of playing a violin on stage compared to the risk of playing an oboe on stage for everyone that is around you. And as this is the novel coronavirus, there's also just no information about how those impacts really are felt into the audience. What we've learned over the course of some studies that have been done by people smarter than I am is that we know that things like singing, and we know speaking, we've all heard that vibration that's created when using a double reed instrument or something like that is really what is the most dangerous part. And so we actually just last week got a new study about classifications of instruments. And so all of these things that I really never anticipated having to know. I never thought I would need to know more about video production than I barely did in March. I never thought I would need to understand the science of aerosols and how they spread. And what I've been continuously thrilled by is that we are going. So yes, it started one way, and the great news is it's still going as we move on. And that is completely because of our visionary board and Arletta and I. This may turn into a Arletta and Amy Love Fest because we just are such a great team. She's such a great asset for the ISO. we really work well together. It's a good thing, and we've really pushed forward to this picture on the how it's going side is at the music salon at Pinewood Estate. And Arletta's going to talk a little bit more about how we came to that and what we're doing there. But all I had to do is say to our musicians, hey, I have this crazy idea. Would you guys be willing to do some online programming? Can only fit 3 of you in a room because we have to have video cameras, and they just immediately respond, absolutely, you bet. They're creative and passionate about what they do, and they want to continue to bring what they do to our patrons and our community, because they know that what we do is more than a concert. What the ISO is a community asset. And so we're going to try to explain that to you a little bit as we go through, so that there's a common language that we can all use, because we love it when you come to concerts, and we love it when the ISO is something that continues to be important even when the concerts aren't happening in that traditional sense. So Arletta wants to tell you a little bit more about the ISO.
Okay. So the ISO has been a fixture in Lakeland since 1965. Way back then, 35 musician volunteers got together to perform the first concert. And here we are 55 years later. The ISO is now a professional per-service orchestra, creating jobs for artists, resources for educators, and enjoyment for the community. In a moment, I'm going to show you a video of some of our musicians in action. Some of you might know that for decades, Lakeland's children and families have been introduced to this orchestra through our cookie concert. We call it that because everyone gets Publix cookies and juice after the performance. It's normally held in April, not this year, but about 600 kids typically come to the show, and they enjoy learning to play instruments in what we call our instrument petting zoo. That's my most favorite part. I love the instrument petting zoo. It's clearly not possible during a pandemic, so our musicians got creative this year, and each section of the orchestra worked on a video segment to create an at-home cookie concert, complete with Publix cookie recipes and activities to make instruments from things around the house like cooking, drinking straws. So here's a clip from this year's cookie concert. Our brass section specifically is in this clip, and it was edited together by Trey Moore, who just happens to teach music technology. So we're so lucky to have him as part of our musical family. All right, let's play the video.
Amy, you might have to go into your settings and also click on Share Computer Sound for us to hear the video.
Give us just a moment. This is called intermission during a performance now. No, we'll get it. Just bear with us. Would it help if Amy were unmuted? Yay, I love that. All right, so you can see the entire concert, the recipes, and the links to the crafts on our website or our YouTube channel. So what else, Amy?
Thanks, Arletta. Well, one of the things about that video in particular that makes me so happy is that brass is not easy. And I think when people think about an orchestra, they normally think about the strings, and which is great. And we're so blessed to have them, because now, especially as we're struggling with aerosols that I mentioned before, we don't get to celebrate the brass and the winds as much. And so as Arletta mentioned, Trey Moore, who's our principal trumpet, used to teach music technology at Stetson University. He's pursuing his doctorate at the University of Florida right now in trumpet performance. And the folks also in that video, one is a public school teacher here, two are Polk County public school teachers. Several of them are just kind of gig workers. And so they've really struggled, as you can imagine, in this pandemic, not having any work. So it's nice to be able to showcase them and share a little bit of who they are and what they're capable of, because they're amazing instrumentalists. So if you've heard me speak, and I imagine most of you have, you know that I tell you a lot about the ISO's mission, which is to educate, entertain, and inspire audiences. And so everything that we do is focused on one of those things. We can relate it all back to those three action words. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how the ISO has lived up to those actions and how we plan to live up to those actions as well. Even in 1965, education was a priority. The ISO was created by a Florida Southern College professor and a music store owner, not only because they wanted something for folks to be able to engage and share with one another their love for music, but also because they know how important arts education is in the public school system. Here come those toenails I told you about on the floor. And so one of the things that we're really proud of in Polk County, and this is not just an ISO accomplishment, is that we have fine arts education in 100% of our public schools, which is a major accomplishment for a county our size. And sometimes that means that they're itinerant teachers. A lot of our string players and our musicians in the ISO teach itinerantly. They have one school on Monday and another school on Thursday, but every student has the opportunity to participate in fine arts in every school. And fine arts students get better grades, they have a higher graduation rate, and they're more engaged in their school as well. So that's a huge deal. And Lakeland Civic Symphony and the ISO had a violinist, Elaine Gleason, who was part of the ISO. She was an institution, and she advocated for strings education in Polk County schools. And it's really because of her hard work and her commitment to that Polk County has a strings program at all. The opera as well, many of you have been to our opera. That was the brainchild of Greg and Christina Sale 20 years ago now. It's hard to believe that it's been that long. They used their connections in the opera world to really start an opera foothold here in Lakeland. And because of their work and because of their connections, Florida Southern College was able to create an opera theater department, which is a major accomplishment, again, for an institution like Florida Southern. And I can name at least 3 current ISO musicians who first attended one of those school day enrichment programs as 5th grade students. That is one of our most enduring programs. It's one that I'm proud of, and we have a long history of donors who really value that program as well. And that is when every 5th grader in Polk County has the opportunity to come and experience an ISO concert in person. So there's nothing else in the world like Yuki Theater filled with 5th graders. It's so much fun. The energy is great, and I love it because I'll sit behind them and they conduct along with Mark, and it's just such a neat experience because it not only reinforces what they're learning in schools, it also gives them something that they don't have. One of the stories that I hear a lot from teachers as they're coming in is that these students sometimes get on a bus for the first time to come to an ISO concert, and they see their house from a bus, or they cross railroad tracks on a bus, which is something that's just a totally different experience than they normally have, because they walk everywhere in their neighborhood, or they only ever drive to go to church, or those sorts of things. So it's really so much more than just a field trip for these students. And this year, obviously, we're not able to do that through all of the challenges that Polk schools are having as well. What we were asked to do was to support them in their pivot. So with students learning online, and some students just disappeared from the school system altogether, they really wanted a way to meet Sunshine State standards and also encourage individual artists. And so Saddle Creek, who's one of our longtime school day enrichment supporters, they said, absolutely, we're on board with whatever. So what we've done is created a series of 10-minute introductory videos for each section of the orchestra, and we're debuting those throughout the year. And those are designed not only to introduce and meet those standards. The students need to be able to identify musical instruments not only by sound but also by sight. So what's the difference between a violin and a viola and a cello? And so they also need to be able to see themselves playing those instruments. So our musicians are telling them a little bit about how they got started and what the hardest part was that they had to learn. And something important that, again, we might not think about, some students may not know a violin, but they may see a fiddle in their bluegrass band at church, or they might not know a stand-up bass in the orchestra, but they know it from the movie with the jazz scene. So we're talking a little bit about those things too, to just kind of connect the dots and really help them understand who they are as individuals and as individual artists, because ensembles just aren't able to perform right now. One of my favorite pictures that I've ever gotten is this one. This is from last year's school day enrichment concert, and you can see how full Yuki Theater is with all of those students. That Yuki Theater, by the way, if you don't know, holds about 2,200 people. So imagine 2,200 fifth graders sitting quietly at a symphony concert. It's an amazing, amazing sight to see. These two students are hearing impaired, and so their teacher blew up a balloon and gave it to them so they could hold it to feel the music. And that is one of our musicians, our principal flute, actually forwarded me a letter that Helen Keller had written to the New York Phil about one of their radio broadcasts, because she was able to experience the same kind of vibrations through the stereo, and it was so moving and so important to her that she wrote a letter. And so these students, even though you wouldn't necessarily think that they would have a similar experience to a hearing student at the concerts, they absolutely do. And this was such an important part of introducing them and connecting them to the world around them. And I get goosebumps every time. I'm actually made the board do it. We all blew up balloons, and we played instruments so that at one of the board meetings they could have a similar experience. It's a really powerful thing to bring music to someone. So as I mentioned, we educate and we entertain. And what we know is that newsmakers in the entertainment industry have been challenged, just like the ISO has. So we were talking about football earlier, and the Bucks and the Giants game last night, and what a nail biter that was. I know, because it was on in the other room. But we have maybe a more precise point, because traditional symphony patrons are typically retired. And so those folks are more directly in the groups of demographics who are at greatest risk, especially as we're in this pandemic. And so we know that the ISO is a source for great music, And it's a social event. So when people come, they enjoy seeing their friends. Some of them, they've been sitting there for 20, 30, and even 40 years that they've been coming to the Symphony, and they needed to be safely at home. So one of the things that we did was to create what we call the Producers Guild. So we're still giving people an opportunity to watch the ISO. All of our live performances are live streamed on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as the ISO's website. So they can still watch, and we're hosting events like this that they can still get together. And so we've got one planned for our next concert where Maestro Thielen and Nina Kim, Dr. Nina Kim, who will join them to not only share a little bit about Vivaldi, but also answer questions about what's challenging about playing that piece of music that's so storied and so familiar to many people. And so that gives them, it still connects our patrons, because it's not just about coming to a concert. There's so many more aspects of the ISO that are important, especially as we're in this strange time where people are having a difficulty connecting with others. We're one of the places where people have traditionally connected, and we want to continue to do that. For the folks who are able to attend concerts in person, we are also facing a capacity challenge. So yes, while orchestras are limited by weather, we're very fortunate in the state of Florida to have sunshine and mild temperatures. We're not in Wisconsin or upstate New York, where they're all bundled up and inside now. But we do have a capacity issue. We ended last year with about 500 subscribers, and we have a total capacity of about 200 now. So that's one of the big challenges that we have. Do we have enough capacity for all of the people who are willing to come and are able to attend a concert in person? And also then the technology side of things, do we have enough capacity to produce the videos and create the storage and all of these things for the people who are not? And I think that will continue into the future, even when we're able to be back in a hall. I think we'll still do the video. There's just something special about being in front of live music, and there's also something convenient about being able to click on it. That's one of this is a little bit of a tangent, but that's one of the challenges that we talk about in the orchestra world, is that cancel culture, that Netflix kind of mentality where it's so much easier, and I'm guilty of it. Please don't mistake me. I would much rather, if I get home and have a chance to take my heels off, I'm probably going to have a hard time putting them back on and going back out. And so we have to, that's one of the considerations that we regularly have to make. But being in this video space now, being forced into this video space now, we have that opportunity to really grow that and figure out how we're going to make things work. And so this is picture from our last performance. So you can see it's a little bit different. We've got 9 string musicians on stage, all of them wearing masks. You can see the heads. There's only 5 of them there in the picture. Everybody is spaced out. And this performance was at the Sun and Fun Aerospace Pavilion, which has been a fantastic venue. It's outdoors and it's covered, and they've been great to work with. They're also doing some fantastic programming to meet the needs of the pandemic. So they're, we're not the only ones that are doing it, but I appreciate the opportunity to tell you about what we're doing. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is the inspiration piece of our mission. We are in such a unique time. There are so many things happening, and I will tell you, this Rick's invocation this morning really made me think about this slide and how I feel about the inspiration piece of the ISO. One of the things that I hear time and time again when people leave our concerts is how refreshed they are, how they feel a new creative energy, that they're inspired to begin something or pick something up that they left behind in college, creative writing or sketching or something along those lines. And sometimes it's just inspired to take that time to breathe, to be in the now, to live in today. There's just something about sitting quietly, surrounded by 48 musicians or 9 musicians, that just creates this listening experience that cannot be obtained any other way. And so I know that you probably have heard me say that I have the best job in Polk County. And that's because every day I work with a passionate board of directors to employ a group of professional musicians. And we're all working to secure a legacy of symphonic music for generations to come. And we're so fortunate to live in a space where, like Lakeland, where the arts and creativity are embraced as an economic development tool as much as a human development tool. Today, this is the one thing I'm going to say about this being election day. Today is probably one of our greatest opportunities to take a breath, to sit still. All the politics aside, with all of the uncertainty and the fatigue and the frustration that are present in all of our lives, I encourage you. I would love it if you went to the ISO's YouTube page or Facebook page and found a video and just sat and listened for a moment. Those are the reasons that our society and our community in Lakeland is desirable, because we have that access, we have that connectivity. We are a unique breed here in Lakeland, and I am really blessed to have this direct a connection with something as amazing as the Imperial Symphony Orchestra. And I would say the same thing about the Polk Museum of Art and Florida Dance Theater and Lakeland Community Theater. We have an incredible art scene, and a little bit of a shout out to Michelle Ledford and her team for building our new lakelandarts.org website. So even if you can't remember imperialsymphony.org, you can remember lakelandarts.org and go find out exactly what's happening in the arts world and how you can plug in and find your inspiration to continue to make Lakeland the best that it possibly can be. And that's just a little soapbox, and that's all I'm going to do, because Arletta's going to tell you a little bit about the specific programs that we have coming up.
Yeah, so just to wrap up, we invite you to come and sit with us to renew your spirit and celebrate 1 week from today, Tuesday, November 10th, to hear Vivaldi's Four Seasons, which is always such a crowd pleaser. As I mentioned, we're dedicating this performance to Dr. Tom McLaughlin. It will be held not at the Pavilion, but at the Sun and Fun Skylight Hangar. We got a slight change there. It's over on Medulla Road. 7:30, 1 hour show, no intermission. And you can get your tickets on our website or listen online. And then please note that next month will be our annual holiday concert, and it'll look a little different than in years past, but it will be filled with the same joy and traditional spirit of our musicians and the music. It will be in the same Sun and Fun hangar at the Skylight Hangar on December 8th. Make note of that, and please intend to join us in person or online. Then we also wanted to tell you real quick about our salon series, as we call it. It's recorded live at Bach Tower, Pinewood Estate, so it's beautiful. It's dedicated, this whole series of online concerts are dedicated to our healthcare community who have kept us safe during this pandemic. So this Mozart concert will be a matinee, as will all of our Salon Series concerts. Our new Producers Guild that Amy mentioned earlier is created in part to raise money for the technology needed to bring these virtual concerts to the community. And we want to be, sometimes, typically, historically, people have had to come to the concert hall to hear music. We now have this opportunity with the pandemic to bring the music to you. We're very excited about that, and the Producers Guild helps us fund that. Moving on to slide 12. Is there anything else, Amy, before we start taking questions?
No, I don't think so. We do have one more Salon Series concert planned. So this one at the end of November will be the Mozart Divertimenti, and then our fantastic trumpets, the two that I mentioned, our principal trumpet and the teacher, will be doing a duet from. And it's just super that we've been able to use Pinewood. There again, Bach Tower Garden had to pivot and change what they're doing, and Pinewood has been closed. So this is an opportunity not only for people to experience the ISO and music, but also to be back in the Pinewood estate that they love so much, and a perfect spot for music in the music salon. Now, please keep in touch with us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. The most interesting content probably that you'll find is going to be on Facebook and YouTube, and you can go there and you can laugh at me as I make cookies in my kitchen for the cookie concert. I try not to do too much with my face on Facebook, but the rest of the stuff on YouTube is all our musicians, so you don't have to worry about me being super cheesy except in that one video. And of course, you can always find information about us and what's coming up, and links to all of these social media accounts at imperialsymphony.org. And thank you so much for having us. Any questions?
Yeah, Amanda usually follows our question list. Amanda, do we have any questions for Arletta and Amy?
The only question that I've seen so far is Mike Loudon asking for a list of outdoor concerts that are going to be available upcoming. And I think you pretty much answered that. I don't know if you have a list of concerts from other arts organizations that you would like to share beyond what the ISO has to offer.
At this point in time, at most of the other organizations that I know, including Florida Southern and Southeastern, Harrison may be doing some in person, but very limited audiences. All of the others are doing digital only. Ours are coming up on November 10 and December 8, the next in-person outdoor concert.
Okay. Is that it, Amanda?
That's really it, yes.
Okay, cool. That means that the two of you did a great job. You do make a great team.
Thank you, Joel.
I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but that worked famously. So you guys did an awesome job, and obviously you're very passionate about what you do, and we always appreciate people like yourselves coming to speak to our club with that level of passion for what you do. I have for both of you this little Lakeland Rotary Club book, which everybody in the county wants it. Arletta, you know what I'm talking about. So. So I will get that to you some way, somehow, COVID-free, I promise. So thank you both for the great presentation and for taking the time to speak to our club.
Thank you for the opportunity. Come see us at the Symphony. We're so excited.
Trey, could you thank our guests and visiting Rotarians?
Sure. I'd like to thank our visiting Rotarian, Doug McCall, and our guests, Carol Hornsby and John Lout. Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming to visit with us. Our weekly quote: music is the shorthand of emotion. That's by Tolstoy. Tolstoy. That's a hard thing. Rubber duck, rubber duck, rubber duck. Next week's program is Gary Clark, and it's a Veterans Day program. So please plan to join us then. And don't forget about Saturday coming up at Veterans Park also. So absent any protest to the contrary, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much. Have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday, or we'll see you this Saturday.